Notice I have this stuff in OneNote. At the end of this semester, you're going to take that MTA certification exam, right? So you might want to create a OneNote notebook for your notes. Let's do that. Go to OneNote.
It always stresses me out when I remember those MTAs because they're just hard to take. Like
this one is the best one.
I've heard it's the worst.
What is the MTA?
The Microsoft Technology Associate Certification Exam, but will certify you as a database
User?
developer, basically. Yeah, it says database user something, because you're not quite a database administrator, but you're more than a regular database user. So database professional. So in OneNote, I created a notebook for CIS250. Now remember with OneNote, you have to be careful about where it saves it, but you guys don't have as many choices now. It's probably going to go to your OneDrive. Since everything's going to your OneDrive, it's going to end up there. That's the trouble I always have with OneNote, is where in the world did it save my stuff? Now in OneNote, yes, all?
I can't use OneNote. It helps me to sign in, but it says my account doesn't exist even though it obviously does.
Oh, okay, good point. If you're having that problem, go to office.com online and log in.
Well, if I X out, it just opens up anyway.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, but
Did
that's-
it saves, it opens it as your My Notebook. So do that drop down there where it says My Notebook. And try to add a notebook because you want to remember it. That was,
So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have
it's
to sign
working.
in. I don't want to. Let's go here.
it's going to save it to your OneDrive. Yeah, it's kind of weird because you're sort of already signed in. So if you just go ahead and go, did you just close out of that login screen?
Yeah, I
Just
just
close out of it. And you're sort of already logged in because of the way they have the network set up. So sorry, that's just a little bit of a change. Let's try to create it and see if you can find it again. Because I sure don't want you to have a bunch of stuff in there and then not be able to find it again. So if you want to close out of it after you get it created, do. Now, we're going to create this entity relationship diagram today. That's why we wanted to update SQL Server Management Studio so that we can create this database diagram. So don't worry about this. We'll get this in your notes here soon. Other things that you might want to get in your notes, we're going to start with Chapter 3 today. And so I'm going to create a new tab because I don't want to show you my old one. I'm going to start with a new one. And so this new tab, we'll name it Chapter 3. And this is going to be select statements. And one thing about SQL is they like for us to type our keywords like select in uppercase. All right, so what I want to do now with this tab, I want to show you how you can import a PowerPoint into OneNote if you haven't done it before. So on Canvas, in our course, I'm going to go down to our modules section, and I want to look at week 2, and I want to grab this Chapter 3 PowerPoint. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and download it. Bless him. Now, once I've downloaded it, I can take that PowerPoint and drop it onto my OneNote page. So you can do that, you know, from a File Explorer screen, or you could right-click on your OneNote and do Open. Yes?
I can't seem to find the Chapter 3.
So go to Modules, and then in Modules, scroll down to week 2, and it's right here.
Oh,
Do you see them?
I didn't know it was called. Thank you.
And now I've got that downloaded, so I'm just going to drag that onto my OneNote. Now, because it's a PowerPoint, OneNote asks us Do you want to just attach that file that would just be like a shortcut to that PowerPoint file in your OneNote? Or do you want to insert a printout? I want to insert a printout. Now it's going to take it a second. But I want you to see how it inserts that. Going to do it. I think it's doing it. There it goes. So again, it takes it a second because it's doing a lot of processing. But what I end up with then in OneNote is a page for every slide in that presentation. Now, sometimes the presentations that you have in class might not be that awesome, but sometimes they are. So what's cool about this is once you get this presentation loaded in OneNote, as we're talking about it, you could go through and you could annotate this, or you could add comments and notes just right beside each slide. So it just gives you that ability to save that whole PowerPoint and then go through it however you want it. And then, of course, you could rename any of these pages if you wanted to. Like if you wanted it to say, you know, example select statement in your page description, you could change that.
What were we doing with this is the chapter 3 quiz, isn't it?
This is the chapter 3 PowerPoint. And we just downloaded it and then dropped it onto our OneNote. Does it work? Last spring break, I got to go to a Microsoft conference in Vegas, and I looked around and everybody had their laptops and was listening to the speakers and all involved. And I saw everybody doing this. I didn't even know that it was an option. But it was so cool because every session that you went to, we just grabbed the PowerPoint, load it into OneNote, and then make notes about what the speaker said. So I had all of this information saved right there together in this OneNote notebook. That's what we'd like to do. Now, students in the past, I know some students that took this course in the summer online, and it's pretty intense that way. So they saved all of the instructor videos to their OneNote document so that they could just click on that chapter and they could find all of the information available for that piece of stuff. Okay, does that work for everybody? Jumping around a little bit here while we let that install finish up. Now, I think most everybody should be done with the install. Are you all logged in? Everybody okay? Back guys? Back row? Logged in? I'm not gonna stop till everybody tells me. Yes, yes, good, good, good. Are you logged in? No. All right, so I want to create a database diagram in our database. If you open your database by clicking the plus sign, we should have this new database diagrams option that we didn't have before. Now, looking at the tables that we have, we're going to make a diagram that includes all of these tables. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tables. That's what we want in our database diagram. So let's right click on database diagram and choose new database diagram. Uh-huh. Yes.
I was just asking.
How many tables?
Do it.
I can't see it very well.
6. Bring up the Zoom session. Uh-huh.
At least one person doesn't seem to actually have those tables.
No, it's just, I have 7. You have 7
Yeah.
tables.
You have 7?
I have 0.
Oh, good counting. I just can't count.
I'm pulling up.
I just can't
now,
count.
so I don't
I
have
have 0.
Why does this person have 0 tables? Who else has 0 tables? Why would they have 0 tables maybe?
So download from the book.
The download from the book. last time we downloaded that data file, the data files from the book, right? And we ran that setup script that created those tables for us. So
That's
if you
okay.
didn't do that, we need to get that done.
I was not able to because I was on my laptop.
Right, so, you know, we gotta get that done then. Okay, so
And of course, I don't have the book with me either, so I don't get to participate today either, I guess.
you don't get to do what?
I don't have the book with me, so I can't find that link right now.
It's Murrock SQL, and you can find it pretty easy. Now, we have some other people that probably need to get that stuff. So, let me see. Let's make our database diagram, and then we'll get some stuff out there for all of them. Now, Zoom is not allowing me to show you the screen. Let me share it with you. Okay, do you see this screen? When you go to create a database diagram, this screen is allowing us to select which tables we want to include on that diagram. How do you think we would select all of them?
Right?
Drag? Will it do that? It's pretty dumb.
I was able to drag.
What did you drag? Where is mine? Mine's mad at me. I've got something hung. Yeah. Something's wrong. Yeah, we want all of them. Let's see if I can get there with you. Let's see if I can get rid of that active dialog box. Bless you. No, it got super mad at me, so I've even lost my login string. So let me go find our server name. Bless you. Now, when we look at this AP database, I want you to notice that looking the way our server is set up, our database name is not APDB. If I were at work and I were working with my company's server, that database name would be APDB. It would not be my username, right? We have databases set as our username so that you guys can do testing with this database server. If that is not the way it would be set up in a real world situation, we would be seeing APDB, maybe payroll DB, you know, any other sort of databases that we have. We see these users right now. So when we look at our databases, we're going to be more concerned about things at the table level. So anytime in any document in this class it tells you to create a database, you can't do that. So you don't have to ask, you don't have to get all confused, you don't have to ask a bunch of other people. Just skip that step, right? Because you can't create a database with our SQL server. So you're going to continue on with the rest of the assignment, just knowing that you would, in the real world, have actually created a database at that point to hold all this stuff. So all a database is a container for related tables. And in our case, for our AP database, we've decided as a company that these tables that we have are related and have to do with our AP, or our accounts payable department. Now it's letting me, everything's working. I can drag and drop. And I'm gonna add all of these tables. Now, when I add them all to my database diagram, how does it look? Do you need to do some rearranging? Let's move some things around to make it look a little prettier. And as it adds things, notice this is a pretty resource intensive part. I guess this is why Microsoft thought, nobody uses these database diagrams, we'll just get rid of it, because it does do a lot of work. Yes?
I can't see your work on Zoom.
Oh, thank you. I'm still sharing the other screen. Jumping around.
How to get that thing up? That table.
We right-clicked on database diagrams and said, new database diagram. And then select all of the tables that it gives you. Now, once the utility is done putting all these tables on our drawing board, we can close and we're ready to move things around to organize it in a way that's pleasing to us. So my vendor table, as I move it, see it's got some lines here, it has some connections to other tables. And I need to move things around in this diagram so that those lines are viewable and I can see what's going on. So as I move things around, let's see, I'll put my invoices up by my vendor because they seem to be related to each other. And then as I look down, I see this GL accounts thing seems to have a lot of connections to a bunch of stuff. Keep moving things around till I can get it to where it looks kind of decent. Now your database diagram could be, you might like it one way and somebody else might like it another way. And that's why it's nice to be able to create it in SQL Server Management Studio, because you can set it up however you like. Now that I've created this database diagram, I want to save it. And I don't want to save it as diagram 0. I want to save it as APDB. And you guys that don't have this stuff, don't worry, because we'll get it all. We'll get you all set with your database here in a minute. You just don't want to make everybody wait while we do that. Now, I see if I look at my database diagrams that I have a diagram here for the AP database. Now, I'll keep moving things around a little bit. Notice for each of the tables that are in our database, again, we can see all of the fields. If I look at my invoices table, what's my primary key? Invoice ID. We see that because it has a little key there on that table, right? I have these really awesome videos for you guys. Let's look at this. Do what? Did it stop? Hey, give it a second. It's like I said, it's pretty resource intensive to do the database diagrams. That's why mine crashed earlier too. So it can be something that causes some trouble. Now, while you guys are looking at that, I want to share these videos with you that are questionable, but I like them.
Hello, I'm going to talk to you about databases. My name is a database management system, and I'm in charge of everything that goes on inside the database. I'm the person who knows where everything is and how to get it. I've organized my database in lots of tables. I've got a table for the form tutor. I've got a table for the form group. and I've got a table for the students. Each of these tables contains lots of records. So what exactly are all these records doing here on the student table? Hi, Joe.
Hi, Mr. DBMS.
Well, a record is all the data we want to store on an object.
Hey, who are you calling an object?
Oh, ignore him. In a database model, an object is something we want to record information about. In this case, it might be a student's name, their date of birth, what form they're in, and their student ID number. I can then come along and interrogate the database. Hands up all those in the tutor group 7DF. Each student gets their own record. So here we've got Joe, you've already met, Fred, Francis, Bill, and Bobby, each with a separate record. If a new student arrived, we'd have to create
That's
a new
how I
record
think
for
about
them.
you guys.
That guy's creepy.
Let me show you around inside Joe's record. We keep 4 bits of data about every student in this database, and to keep everything organised and easy to find, I keep each one in its own separate field, as you can see here. 4 pieces of data, 4 fields. The first field is the student ID number. Joe's number is 13421. The next field stores Joe's form, and we keep Joe's name in this name field. Finally, his date of birth is kept in the DOB field. Hang on a minute, there's someone at the gate in that field. Hey, who are you?
I'm the data type police, and it's my job to stop users messing up the database by entering dirty data. You try putting something in this field that isn't a date, and I'll stop you.
So what if I try to put the word red in here?
Is red a date?
No.
Then it ain't coming in.
Oh, how about if I try putting a cow in this field?
Is a cow a date?
No.
Then it ain't coming in. If it's not a date, it doesn't get in.
Well, good. Actually, I like this policeman. He stops people messing up my nice clean data. And if something goes wrong in a database, it's because somebody has put something wrong into it. So, in a record, we have fields, a field for each piece of data that we want to store, and we can set data types for those fields to help make sure the users can't mess it up.
As you notice, database people are not really fond of users, so you'll see that often. Okay, so he has more to say.
Hi, I'm the Database Management System, DBMS to my friends, and I'd like to explain to you why you should use keys in your databases. Before I explain what the keys on this class table can do, let us look at why we need keys in the first place, by having a look at some records in the students table. Hi guys.
Hi, Mr. DBMS.
Let me just check that everyone's here. Max?
Yes, Mr. DBMS.
Joe?
Yes, Mr. DBMS.
And that's our problem. I cannot tell which Joe is which just by using his name. I need something that is guaranteed to be unique. And with millions of students around the world, I just cannot use everyday information such as their names to be certain I've got the right student. I need to find something that will be different for each and every student. Sometimes there will be a unique field, but for now, I'm going to give each student an ID number. This is something I can control and therefore can guarantee to be unique. This is the secret to making sure I don't mix up one student with another, and it's going to be my primary key. If I know the primary key for this table, I can be absolutely certain I have the right record. Each student gets a different key value. As you can see here, only the right key value will let me get at the right student's record. Keys are useful because they stop me mixing up one student with another, but they get even better when we use them in other tables. Let's have a look at the classes table. Does that look like 2 copies of Joe's key on those 2 records? Yes, they are. And because I know they are student keys, I can use them to go back to the student table and look up anything about Joe that I might need. These copies can appear in many records on this table. When a key is used like this, not in its own table, it is called a foreign key. I like to think it has travelled far from its own home, is on holiday. In this class table, can you see that Joe, with the pink key, is taking 2 classes? Now, what about those other keys? They are different from the student ones, and that's because they are keys for the teachers If we want to find out more about those teachers, we need to look for those key values on the teachers table. So which teacher has the yellow key? Who has the yellow key?
I do. I'm Mr. Smith. I'm a science teacher. I've taught here since September 2006. I'm married with...
Thank you. That's quite enough information for the moment about you. But you should see that once we know the key value, we can use it to get all the information we need to from the table where it is the primary key. Putting this key value into other tables as a foreign key means we can keep all the information about Mr. Smith in one place and then just use the key to look it up when we need it. So to summarize, a primary key is a unique value in its own table. If the key is then used in other tables, it's called a foreign key.
Okay. Like I said, it's kind of questionable, but he does a really good job of explaining some important concepts. And we're going to start with chapter 1 here. And I want to make sure that we have our databases set up correctly as we go. So we're going to be looking at some different databases. Let's take a look at our textbook. Let's see where I have it. Yes. Got it working. Hang on. Now, if you have your book, grab it. If not, kind of look over someone's shoulder beside you that has theirs.
You can't do this, that's because the network is stupid.
3-hour break in
Okay, so we might have to change the way we have things set up on our server. But let's take a look at our book. In our textbook, in chapter 3, I am going to find at the beginning of chapter 3. And we're going to be talking about using select statements. And select statements are used to gather data, to retrieve data from tables in our database. When the book gives us an example, let's find one here. And it's the same as the examples that are in the presentations. But in our textbook, you'll see we have a lot of examples. They say, here's a basic syntax of the select statement. And you know I like to just jump in and try stuff. If I can get to one. Here's finally one. Okay, so we're going to try this select statement, select star from invoices. What that's going to do is tell the database management system, I want to look at every column from the invoices table for all of the rows in the invoices table. Now, do we have an invoices table in our AP database? Yes. So we should be able to run that select statement in our AP database. Let's open a new query. When we open a new query, we're just simply opening a new tab here in SQL Server Management Studio. We haven't saved that. We haven't done anything with it. And they want us to type in this syntax, select star from vendors. Is it vendor? And then I want to try to run it. So I'm going to click execute. Joseph, what's it doing to you?
How do you make
It's
that
not
new
letting me
thing?
backspace.
How do you what?
How do you make the new one?
Do new query right up here. Do you see it?
Oh.
That little button.
It's not letting me backspace. Or move backwards at all.
Is it froze?
No, I can type forward. Can't go backwards.
It won't backspace.
Yeah, I've done delete, I've done highlighting, delete, normal backspace. I guess if you highlight and right click and then press cut, it'll cut it out.
See what you can do, because yeah, mine was doing all sorts of weird special characters and then it started deleting for me. So it started working.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
So it's created.
Yeah, let's get everybody fixed. Okay. Now, those of you who are working well, let's look at what our study group assignments are going to be and get everybody else helped so that we all have databases out here so that we can do some practicing, or else we'll have too much frustration. So I'm going to go to Canvas and look at our people link. And on our people link, you should see this group, database design group. That's the one that we want. You make sure that I don't have anybody that needs to be moved.
I'm sorry, but this is just double checking some into class. This is 250, right?
Yep, 250.
Okay, then I'm not seeing it.
You're not seeing it?
Maybe this is the same thing.
Is anybody seeing it? Can't see it?
I see a group, but I'm not sure if it's the same as your database design group.
What does it show you guys?
This is what I forgot. Oh, okay, I see.
Okay, yeah, yours looks different, so you're okay. So go there with us to Canvas, you guys. Yep, that's it.
This says it's incorrect. I already did that.
You found your group already?
It was the first one.
Okay, so how do you guys want to do this? Do we want to rearrange, or let's see how we're working with our different groups? I think that I would like for you to be sitting with your group, and I set them up as 4 so we'd have them in the rows. So let's rearrange. I apologize. I know that some of you might be moving to a computer that doesn't have the update installed, so we will try to get that done. So we'll be a little clunkety. And honestly, whenever you're a database person and you're a database administrator, it's kind of that way because you're dependent on a lot more technology than any of the other courses if you think about it. Because we have to have the network working, we have to have the SQL Server set up, we have to have Management Studio to connect to it. You guys have to have your databases created. So there is a lot going on, a little bit more than just writing some programs. So let's say I want database design group 1 on this row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And work out perfect. So log off, move around, meet your group, and let's get everybody situated here.
What if we already have another person on our row, like him and I are in the same group, can we just have group 4 here?
No.
It'd just be easier.
There's 20 some other people. Let's just move the way I asked you to, please. We'll decide. I hate to do that to you, but we might. Oh, and you're in the back now. We'll let you guys rearrange. I just want to move for now. So, thank you very much for rearranging. I know how hard it is. It's a difficult thing. I try to not ask you to very often, but it'll be worth it. Okay, as you get to your computer, get logged in and see if you need to update the SQL Server Management Studio. So if you need to update it, go ahead and go to that website and start that download. Let's get it going. Now, you can see that whenever we're looking at this class, we're going to be doing a lot of hands-on things, aren't we? Because whenever we talk about this SQL syntax, we can look at the syntax forever, but it won't mean anything to you unless we try it, unless we execute it, see what kind of results you get, see how changing the SQL statement changes the results you get. So that's important for us. So we will be doing that a lot. Now, that being said, remember it's important to let people know if things, you know, are giving you a hard time so that we can get everybody all back to working again. Now, in our class last time, we went to the Muroc site to download the student data files. Let's review where that site is. I'm going to search for Muroc SQL. We saw that if we just went to the Muroc.com main site, we could click on the MySQL book. I guess learn more. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to go back to database programming books and get that SQL Server 2016. Thank you. Now, when we're on that the correct book, down here in these tabs, I think we went to free downloads. And then down in the second half were the book examples and exercises. So it doesn't matter which download you use. The EXE, you can double click to run it after you get it downloaded, and it'll create all of the Muroc stuff in your file system. The zip file, you could unzip wherever you want. By default, these Muroc files went to the C drive. So if that's where you put them, which is what I said, you know, just go ahead and leave them on your C drive. You'll want to download them again to this computer. And again, you can put them on your H drive, but you know, since they have the OneDrive set up now and everything's going out to your OneDrive, you know, I don't know if stuff like this would get flagged somewhere because it's publisher's copyright material. I mean, I think as long as it's on your private OneDrive, it's okay. It is in our Canvas course on the setup in modules. I'm going to download this again because yeah, I've got it. Look at my details here. I know I downloaded it because I got the email. I'll do it again. Bless you.
We're trying to open that file, which created a crash. Yeah, same.
What's it doing?
It just shuts it down.
What did you get, the zip file or the exe?
Not the file, was just created. The database. SQL Server. The query. It just breaks mine every. Yeah, it just shuts it down. It doesn't even give an error. And then it restarts.
It does run online, but it doesn't actually do anything. It just steps back to the errors.
I can't even believe I started.
Yeah. Make it again. That was to double click, right?
I have to create a new database diagram. Buggy, huh?
A couple of us still need to create the database.
Okay, you get them now. As you get that file downloaded, you're going to have the database creation script. So that's why we're going back and downloading that. So make sure you're getting it. Mine is like not downloading. There it goes. Okay, I thought I had it already. So I just got the zip file. So I just unzipped it. I left it sitting in my downloads folder. Inside that, we found the SQL Server 2016 folder. And we have several folders in there. We are looking for the databases folder, and inside there is the script create_ap.sql. You only need to run this if you're missing those tables. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click on this SQL file to open it in SQL Management Studio. The first statement in this batch file is use master. Master is the primary database that controls everything, and nobody really has security to use it. So we want to change this to use your database. And I know you guys that have already run it, you're fine. Oh, sorry. You already have these tables, don't you? The AP stuff? I found them in SQL Server 2016 databases. Do you see them? Now the other two, the examples database and the product orders database, we'll be using those as time passes, so we'll get them set up when we need them. Now the people that need to get this set up, we need to delete the next several lines of code. And now you can run this by clicking execute. Now notice I have all sorts of errors because I already have these tables. So if I run it again, I'm just going to get a ton load of errors because they already exist. But the people that haven't run it yet should be able to create those databases. Now look around, and whoever needs these databases created, kind of help them. Let's make sure we're getting it all for everybody so that we can get them all working. Kind of mean of me, but I'm glad you moved around to set everything up again. I've so much setup to do. You should need to, you're fine. You've already got something. We need that database.
Yeah, master to whatever your database is. So I think which one is
For our company, which is like.
go ahead and
It's like
so I to this little string of letters here. Yeah. Yeah, where it says use master. Yeah.
And so that's what SQL is about, the way to ask questions.
And then we have to
Oh, you guys are working so good.
we have to delete from this comment here to where it says I guess.
Oh, delete.
See where it says where this comment is, delete that whole one, including the comment itself. We don't need any of it. We don't need the go there.
Yeah, I think you're all set. Okay, everybody got them?
Yeah. Ostensibly. It didn't work for me, but that's what she's told us to do. So I guess you can take it and try it. And
So
see
we
if
don't
you
need to do that. So
I just did it. And that's good. That's where we need it. We just want to make sure everybody's got these databases created, and then we'll start figuring out what we're doing now. But we should not know yet.
mine is trying to tell me I already have a bunch of these objects, but it doesn't show up in this menu here. I'm very confused.
So refresh a whole bunch.
right there.
I moved
This one right here.
That's what I'm pretty sure.
That's my last thing I said, log on to computers.
Yep.
okay,
Now, we've got tables.
Getting a bunch of errors.
so I should be able to.
You shouldn't need to do anything.
That one. Sounds like that.
Yeah, that looks great.
It's even better, it's good backgrounds and then the computer.
So you're good.
So like, you've been in one of that building. It's more still computer.
And that's fine, we got some errors at the end. So now refresh a whole bunch and see if those tables are there. Now, as you see problems with those database diagrams, make sure you create a new one. If it's not letting you open that old one. So,
The arrow. I have the. With the 1060. Yeah, I have it to 60 max.
yes.
It's got the Intel i7 8700.
Does it?
16 gigs of RAM. There's a second
I have two 8 gig sticks. That would be
I could
you don't need more than 16 gigs for a long time. I created 6 programs in the future.
Now try that select statement.
I have a
Mine's really good.
dumb question.
Uh-huh.
How important is it that if you need all upper cases, why is that important?
How what?
So like a lot of the commands are in all caps.
Uh-huh.
Why is that important?
It is a convention.
I mean, mine's not that big, but that's pretty good.
So it's required. But I will sometimes
I'd say
forget.
mine's very. It's
I
definitely
know.
mine's.
There they are, yes. Yes, because.
Okay, but it does still work.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, can everybody do a select statement? Can you do that select star from vendors? Are we getting there?
Where is that?
Yeah, where is that? That's a good question. Anywhere in SQL Management Studio, we can click open a new query, or we can click on the tabs that we already have to see what we have open. And what I find is finally, I have got my select statement. Now let's put a couple more things in here that we should always do just as good measure. So in order to make sure we're using our correct database, we always want to say use and then our database. After that, I want, whoops, my enter key didn't work. So when you say certain keys aren't working, I see that. We'll probably have an update in a day or two to SQL Server Management Studio. So keep your eyes peeled because it definitely doesn't make all your keywords all the time. Okay, so now I've got my use statement and I've got go. And then I've got my select statement. Now I'm going to run this query by clicking execute.
You just select all those and add them, or I ended up doing the one of the.
You what?
I can't leave the first line.
You can't leave it, it won't let you. You're stuck there. It's weird. It's just like, come on.
Can I just write it all on one line, or is that?
Yeah, you can write it all on one line. Maybe try it. See what it does. We'll see what it's like to work with glitchy software, that's for sure. So when we're working with a select statement, let's think of some things. And these are things you might want to put in your notes. First of all, what is a query? What does query mean? Question means I want to find out something. I'm going to query you and ask you what's going on. And when Dr. Todd created SQL, structured query language, that's what he was thinking about. He was saying it would be really cool if people could query their data and say, I would like to see all of the vendors that are in California, or whatever the case may be. And so that's what structured query language is. Yes.
What are those things on the same database diagram?
These?
No, on same.
I just made it.
This is on my list now.
Up here,
Yes.
the go.
Oh, go.
So the go is important. Everyone's asking about it. That's a really good thing. Whenever we create a list of statements like this, we call it a script. It's a whole script file, list of commands. But wherever we have a go ends a batch. And a batch is something that's going to be sent to the server to be processed before the rest of our script continues on. So in this case, we want to make sure we're using the right database. So we use a go command before we select. So that way our first batch sets up what database we're using, and then we select from it. So we can put the word go after our select statement, same effect. Having one, not having one. So a select statement. This is the format of a standard select statement. It starts with the keyword select. We had some people asking about the casing, the uppercase. It can be in any case. SQL is not so much worried about casing as some other programming languages. But it's become convention over time to always put these keywords in all uppercase. So help me remember, because I never worked at a place that followed that convention. So I also have a hard time putting it all in uppercase. But that's what they want, so we're going to do that. After the keyword select, I'm going to have a list of all the columns I want to select. The star means all the columns. So that's why I have all the different columns listed here for my vendor table. So right now I'm looking at all the columns for all the vendors and all of the vendors that are in the table. What if we only wanted to see the vendors' names? We could change the select statement and say select vendor name. Now let's run it. Click your execute statement. And now you're just going to see that data. What if we want to see the vendor name and vendor address both? Well, our column list is just that, it's a list. So we can put as many columns or as few columns as we want in that column list. We're going to separate our column names with commas. Now, SQL Server Management Studio is being nice and doing some IntelliSense with me. Just like it locking up and not responding to our keyboard, it will lock up and that will not work sometimes too. So, but it's trying. Okay, so now I've got two columns in my select statement. I've got vendor name and vendor address 1. So I'm going to run this. And now I see both of those columns. If we wanted to, yeah, if we wanted to use another database and do something else, we could. So what would happen if we said, go here, and then after that we said we wanted to select everything from our vendors table. Now, SQL Management Studio is going to try to handle that. It's like, well, you did 2 different select statements. So I'm going to split up your results window. Here is your first select statement, and here's the output from your second select statement. So it will try to accommodate us as much as possible with everything. So, yay, looks nice.
If I may interrupt briefly, I want to see if I'm following what this might enable us to do a little bit. Let's suppose we're making a code in C# separate from this, because we talked about that the other day. That's a mailing program. It gives us the ability to write a letter and it sends it to all of our vendors.
Right, because in your program, you would issue the select statement to get their names and addresses, and then you would loop through that.
To our C# program. So that
Exactly, yep. Yep, and that's why we're always saying in your programming classes that, you know, you won't be using these console-based programs forever, and when you're out working for companies, you'll be using databases to get to that data. So you won't be sitting there typing stuff in console-based forever, or even on the form, because a lot of times we want it that way. So yes, exactly right.
So there's some command in the SQL bit that we haven't learned yet that basically says return this list to whatever called for it, I'm guessing.
Nope. We would run the same exact select statement, and our C# program would take care of processing those results, right? And so that's what's cool about SQL, is that it's the same no matter what, no matter where we're using it, no matter what programming language we have it embedded in, it's always the same. So it gives us a lot of power because we know how it works no matter what. Okay, so we start out a select statement with the keyword select, and then the next thing we have is a column list of all of the columns we want. What if we don't like those names? I'm going to get rid of this bottom select and my go here. And I want to say that for my vendor name, I would like to call it something else in the output. I want it to be displayed as the name, and I want address 1 to be displayed as address. I'll put our from down here on the next line because we're working with our column list right now. Now, if I execute that, in your results down here, you should see those new column names. So we just gave an alias to that column. We said for this query, just for this query, I would like to call vendor name, and I would like to call vendor address 1, address. Okay, so we can use that as clause to alias things. Now, after we have our column list, we have to tell SQL what tables to find those columns in. So in our vendors table, we have the name of all of those people we bought things from, right? So we're looking at our accounts payable database. These are bills that we have, things that are payable by us. So when we look at how much is payable, we want to know who do we need to pay, how much do we pay, why, all those kinds of things. Do what?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of
this
them.
person has a lot of expenses.
A lot of expenses. So we can keep track of all of that information. But then we have to specify what table we want to select those columns from. If we look at our database diagram, besides vendors, we don't really have a lot of other things that have names and addresses and things like that in them. But that's okay, because we'll look at some of these other tables later. For today, for our first chapter, we really want to focus on just selecting data from one table. So let's keep thinking about that. So in our example here, we're looking at vendor names and vendor addresses from our vendors table. What if we only want the ones that are in California? We can add a where clause. And a where clause adds selection to our query. So I can say, well, I want all of the vendors where their state is it vendor city state? There it is, vendor state equals, and we only use one equal sign here, CA. Now try double quotes, try single quotes. In general, we want to use single quotes. I'm going to click execute. And gosh, I can't tell if it worked or not because I'm not selecting their state. I got 75 rows returned, I see down here in the corner. So I'm going to add their state as output. So that I can see that's correct. Now, whenever we're working with queries like this, sometimes we have to modify things to validate that our query is working properly. So in this case, I decided, well, you know, if I go ahead and add the state in as output, I can validate, I can make sure that I'm only getting those ones in California. And there, that looks good. So I'm getting just those California people. So select is always my first keyword, then a list of the columns that I want to select. Then the keyword from, followed by the tables that I want to be looked at. And then we can add in where to get specific records. What if I want them to be in a certain order? I would like to order them. So I'm going to add one more clause to my select statement. Order by. And again, it's super simple. So in order by, I'm just going to say what column I want to have things sorted on. I would like to order by vendor name, I think, just so we can see some changes in our output. So I'll execute that. And now I see all of my vendors in order by their name. Now I put you together in your group because I wanted to take a look at our very first assignment. I'm going to go to our modules and I want to look at this week 2 assignment. It says chapter 3, select from a single table. Each of your assignments are going to be completed with a Word document. So I'm going to download this document. It's not too glamorous. And so in the Word document, it gives you questions. All of these questions are going to be queries that you're going to run, but we're not going to be able to run these off of the AP database. Right now, we're going to be running them off of a database that's shared by everybody. So it'll be a little bit different than using your AP database. You'll have to use that use statement. So this very first question says that you're supposed to write a given select statement. Well, then how do you turn it in? We'll try this first one. Write a select statement that returns 4 columns from the products table. Let me show you what the database looks like that you guys are going to be using. It's called My Guitar Shop. And I'll get this posted for you since it's not going to let you guys create it. In our My Guitar Shop database, we have some different tables than we do in the AP database. So in our My Guitar Shop, we're worried more about our orders, what people are buying from us. So in our My Guitar Shop, we have a customer table. All of the people or companies that buy from us are going to be here in our customer table. And we've decided that we should have addresses kept as a separate table because customers could have multiple addresses. They could have a shipping address, they could have a billing address. So we've got a completely separate table for addresses so that we can keep track of all those different addresses. Then for every customer, we could have multiple orders. We hope that they've ordered from us lots of times. And for each order, we could have items that have been ordered and products on that. So what would that look like, that order? I'm going to go to Chrome and just look at an example purchase order. And I'm going to look at images because I want to see just like an order. So here's one. I could go look at anything anywhere. But if you buy things from Amazon online, you basically get an email from Amazon, which is a listing of everything that you ordered, right? And that's what kind of thing we're going to need to communicate with these customers. So here in this case, we have a sample company, and this person bought something from them. So here they bought, these are the descriptions, how many of them they bought, how much they cost, what the total is, and the total for the bill. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to keep track of in our My Guitar database. All of the information to be able to create these purchase orders or show our president, oh, so-and-so bought a lot from us. So what do I want from you? In SQL Server Management Studio, I do have it, it keeps like opening multiple times. Stop it. I'm going to create a new query. And if you look at the databases, you can see the My Guitar Shop one. Can you guys see that one? So you're going to do a use statement that says use My Guitar Shop and then go. And then the Word document says it wants us to select all of these different things. So let's see if we can format this together. You can't.
Where's my guitar?
It's mixed in with the student databases.
It's right here. Will it let you click on it?
Well, let me click on it, but then it kind of don't.
Does it yell at you after you click on it?
Yeah, then it takes away the option to click on it.
I'm thinking you need to.
Let's
change
create our own. I think we're just going to be in a lot better shape if you guys create these tables in your databases too. So let me send this to you. What I'm going to send you is a script to create all of that, those tables under your database. I don't think they are. Check for me if you would and see if you see it. Let me bring up that database diagram. And you can see, here you go. Here's the My Guitar Shop tables. I think that we're okay if we create it in your database. Does it look all right?
How do you create them in our database?
We're gonna send you something here.
How are you planning to send it?
I think I'm gonna send it to you via Canvas. If it will let me here. Hang on. Okay, look at Canvas in the announcements, and there should be a new announcement that just has this create myguitarshop.sql. Do what? What's that?
Can we do the query inside of our database with use the shop?
No, because you don't have security to access it. So I could give you security to access it, but it's just gonna work out better in the long run if you guys have your own copy of it. So make sure you guys look around, make sure everybody in your group is doing this because we need everybody to get this done. So I'm just gonna open that SQL file. When I double click on it, it should open in SQL Management Studio. Again, instead of using master, I wanna use my database. Riley RE. And then I want to make sure to get rid of all of these lines of code from this if statement to this use statement. Once we do that, let's run it. Now at the end, we might get a couple errors. That's okay. Perfect. You should see at the end the data that was added to those tables. They're working. Once you do it, yay. It'll take, keep refreshing. Remember, it's super slow to show you those tables. So let you guys do it. Looks like you do. Yeah, it looks like you've got some. Now, we really could have two database diagrams here, because now our My Guitar Shop tables are inside of our user database also. Remember to keep refreshing, it should show up. Is everybody getting it okay?
And then the use in my guitar offline as well.
Everybody good?
I think it works.
I am not certain how to tell if it worked or not.
That looks good. So keep refreshing, and you'll see more tables eventually, but I can tell from your rows effective.
That works.
Refreshing, eventually it'll show you all those tables. It's slow. They said last semester, sometimes we would have to close SQL Server Management Studio and reopen it to see those updated tables. Okay. Now, let's try that SQL statement again. I'm going to go back to it. What tab did I have it in? I'll find it. There it is. I was trying to use My Guitar Shop. We've copied that now to our database. So use your database. So in the Word document, it says it wants to select 4 columns from the products table. Product code, product name, list price, and discount percent. So how would I set up that query? So I would select those column names, right? Product code, product name, this price, and discount percent. From products. Mine is just griping at me. It's like, you don't have those tables.
It's on mine thing, but it still works.
Does it work?
Yeah.
You can see it's not super perfectly intelligent.
It doesn't even show I have the tables, but I can still get all the.
You can still run it. So sometimes it doesn't know what it's doing its own self.
Ms. Riley, is there
Uh-huh.
an easy way to sort these tables out a little better in the little menu so it's a little easier to tell at a glance which ones are the guitar shop and which ones are the other one we did?
No, and that's a problem with us putting everything into your database. So the only thing we can do is set up our database diagrams to show which tables are in which database. But it doesn't really matter because in the end, they're all in your database. So you don't have to worry about which database they actually would be in. In the old book, these were all together. They just split them up for this version because they have some exercises that go off the AP database in the textbook, and then the assignments that you guys will be given use the music database. So now that we have it all in there, that won't matter and you won't have to worry. You'll always just use yours. So this works. Let's run it. Now, in the assignment summary, you're supposed to turn in a couple of things. You need to turn in the query that you used. So I'm going to put that after number 1 here in this Word document. And let's see, I think the instructions say you're supposed to insert a table. So I'm going to insert a table into the Word document. Yeah, and I want my query and my results. So I'm just going to make this a 2-part table. First, I'm going to copy my query. And then in the bottom, I'm going to copy my results. Now, copying your results is actually much harder than it should be because you have lots of different options here with SQL Server Query Management Studio because you could be giving these results to the president of your company or something. So they just give you all sorts of options. So you have lots of ways you can do it. I'm going to right-click on my results tab. Oh, that's not there anymore. Let's see, what can I do? If I click here, I should be able to select it all. And I'll try to copy. Now, in your copy, you can either just copy the data or copy with headers. Let's copy with headers and paste it on that document. Now, because we have a lot of people and we want to make sure that everybody gets stuff turned in properly, we do need it to be neat like this in some way. Now, I'm not going to be super specific because you guys might figure out a better way to copy this stuff, have it look better. Yeah. Where's this query? It is in Canvas. In week 2, your assignment.
I got that.
Was the first question.
But where I can't find it after I created it using that.
Is it in one of your tabs?
No.
Now, your queries in your management studio will disappear. You can save them if you like, or you can again just copy and paste things back out. It's not the same as like writing a whole program worth of code. Usually you're just writing a little bit. Now, this is actually not the solution to this problem. We need to add a little bit more. We need to add an order by And in this case, they want the order by to set the list price in descending sequence. So we just have a few minutes, about 10 minutes. I want you to work with your group and see if you can figure out how to get that syntax in to do that order by with descending sequence. You are okay to go ahead and work on number 2 if you like, but we still have a lot more to talk about for the other questions. So you might want to save those for next time, and we'll again split up to work with our groups. You can sit at your desk when you get here, and then we'll split up after we've had a chance to get situated. Yes?
Is that what this other assignment here that says group summary report is for?
Yep. So we'll spend more time next time working in your group. I was hoping to have more time today, but it's good for you guys to see this setup that goes on behind the scenes, even if it's confusing at this point.
I am going to go figure it out. Someone else will talk to me.
The only thing I would actually just do on this is since the car shop.
No.
So I can say.
Wait, did you run this?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Great. You don't need it.
I'll do that next one then, because you guys have got that one already done.
It's going to take a while for it to pop up here and refresh. I actually ended up just restarting. But then you should be able to play around with it. Like it's not showing up in the menu there, but I think you can even make queries to it if you want it. I'd have to go do something else.
Oh, good question. Let's see. Dash, dash. Hyphen, hyphen.
It's order by. The highest price.
We're supposed to select to hidden for the price in descending order. So you're working on 2?
So how do we consolidate?
Mm-hmm.
For the OneNote, like whenever it tell me to log in, I cannot log in. But when I cancel, it shows my name in the corner.
Yeah, it's okay.
But my notes
actually
still
sort of,
don't.
they
But
don't
I don't see my note.
So do file new or file open, and let's see if it's saved for you. That's what I
Oh, no, I mean, it's expensive. Absolutely. I made a table. So much more work.
So sign out. You get in trouble with your child.
Like this.
Okay, then. Since you like to think it's as well. You can actually, so it's really
If you know the way.
Do you know what they're doing this is right now? Use the usual line,
I got it.
You're gonna have all sorts of places. And then you were able to get SQL Server Management Studio installed. Somebody else had to learn on it. I don't know, I'm gonna send them to you and tell them that everybody can do it except for. It seems like it was somebody else. That could it too.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're like,
Yes, on Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
So it should be last day.
Oh. You're okay. You're fine, you're fine, we'll do it on Thursday. For shoot, how did you?
I just think they don't read.
So that's why you want to be. And then kind of control it a little bit better. Got 'em. They finally showed up.
Like everything's on there.
So that does it better.
Yeah.
And then you were able to resolve.
Order item. Oh, you wanted to get.
You can do it. Okay. Just 1 minute. All right. I just made mine too. And then I just took a period in the top. You don't need. No, try it, because you can get it to look. You know, in last, oh, you know what I think they want to do?
So,
That might be our best way. That was all that copy, and I keep forgetting. We got new modern technology. Snipping tool is probably our best way. Yes. And then we'll look at that thing on the left. Yeah. Okay.
So. You're a static. So when you go to the main. Yeah. And you tell me, and I start those. It's our last
Get that done.
And then
Get it?
get it somewhere. I tried that. I had to move the first.
Yes, you're done, thank you, sir.
I just don't want to be rude.
No, not at all, thank you very much. I need you all fine.
It's just M and Z.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Tuesday, yeah, you're right.
Well, it was real last night, and I was really excited. So I was like, oh, there's stuff on
Two. So the video
Yeah. So if you want to go through,
Yeah, it's not working at all. Oh, I had this after the order.
So. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're gonna have to just return.
So you're gonna create a variable, that's bring the whole day.
Well,
You're gonna
I
have to
used
build
to.
that out.
I did not, with content, you need to do without it, you can format it with the, because you need the,
Yeah, you can do that.
I assume we have to. I'm not good for all two parents.
Dead. Correct. So it's like. It has to be capitalized. So has customers where last name. Oh, like. Okay.
It's literally.
So if you want the last letter to be M, you put the percent sign in front of it for some reason.
well, that was February 11th.
No parentheses. Single quote bracket.
You guys get out of here and we'll finish up Thursday. You'll have a lot more time. And we'll finish up that group report. And what will be on? 9:50, I don't want to get out of here. You too. That's what we need.
So we're going to do a table.
Build a variable.
Unless I can access. Unless I can access my TFS.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay. There you go.
And this is the, you have so many that we're working on now. Oh, son of a.
So this has both like that's a great example right there. So we wanted to just have one of them.
And that would be silly because there's no way to separate them out. It's only on logic with the sale. That's one thing to do. Like there's no sort of overlap.
Pages that.
It's a lot.
Just select the tables that are
I'm on 9 pages.
So select all the tables.
How much further do I have to go? Not much.
10
further.
pages.
It doesn't really tell you.
How much is it?
I had to decipher. Yeah,
Guess what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get all lines.
Yeah, it's so because everything was reading. Yeah, you put the percent sign in front, and it comes grabbing everything the last letter. So I'm like, now they what? All right. Cool.
No, you're thinking on it. You got it.
I don't know. We're just doing it.
So yeah, it's, you can come in, you.
My
Is it because you're in the left margin?
One day. We have their accounts payable.
He's going through formatting overlay.
So there.
It shouldn't cause us any trouble. Yep.
There we go.
Totally right. Sure.
Oh, I have an audio CD copy.
Oh, wow.
There was something that manually had to be done.
I'm leaving all my select statements on there.
Do what?
So that I can see later.
Oh, okay, hang on. Well, we're okay, because I was thinking that other class was gonna be here, but these guys are here, so it's all right. Nobody's gonna come yell at me, maybe,
You never know.
probably. Probably they will. Let's see, what do you want me to find?
The audio CD.
I lost all mine too. Let's see what I have, because I did not do a good job at copying. Oh, look at that. I do. I don't know why it asked me that, like it was a 2015 project though.
Oh, that's good.
Oh.
Oh, wait, today's the 27th. Yeah, the 27th.
Yep, you guys are fine. We have time.